Okay. The message of having a class, a full online face-to-face class, is actually posted to you all, right? I mean, like, Lee did mention to you, and your class monitor did actually talk to you guys on this, isn't it?
Yes, doctor. Yes,
Okay,
doctor.
good, good. This is only 51, so I don't know why, because not supposed to be 50 of you are affected by the flood and no lines. Cannot be right. Yeah, so it's okay. I will, the attendance is not compulsory, so I will take it later at the end of the class. And later on, once we finished, you all can just let your friends know that, go up to you. I will post it. I will usually compress this recording into YouTube and a YouTube link, and the YouTube link will be available online in eLib. I'll put up the link, and then you can just directly click into that link, and you can listen back to the lecture all over again. Completely, I will record the whole sessions, and that is normally what I'll do also for my classes, besides pre-recording. So today I don't want to do pre-recording, is because I would like to meet you all, because this is the first time I've seen, I kind of like meet everybody. So I thought I'll just come up and do a normal class. I didn't expect, only 50 of you show up, you see. So if affected by flood, 10, 20 people maybe. So this is like a bit more than I thought here. Anyway, so I think you have met Dr. Lee very well. You know her very well already. So I am another one of the lecturer in project management. Okay, so my name is Ding Sim Lee. So I've already I'll put it in the box. My email is also, I put it in the chat box. Okay, so normally I respond to email, and I think some of you here are my mentee, but this year no mentee actually looked for me. I don't know why. Last year all the mentee was like coming to look for me and have a chat and all that. So this year I haven't seen any of the year one people looking for me. So I don't know what's going on. Do you need to meet me before your exams? Then you better arrange for sessions with me, okay? Because normally I will do year one by themselves, and then year 2, 3, 4, I will do it at one shot with everybody. So this year, no year one so far, only year 2 and 3, 4. So if you need to see me for mentor mentorship, by all means, give me a tinkle on my email, and I will arrange a time to have an online session to see everybody and who's my mentee and all that, okay? So that's one thing. All right, so I am a pure project management person. I think in the whole department, I'm just a strict project management, civil engineers project management. So Dr. Lee, she is more specialized in things like she's more specialized in things like building technology and all that. So she has that subspecialties. And Madam Rohaida, she also more into things like IBS, so that is another one, that is her focus, you see. So my focus has always been very specific project management, okay? And that's why you see me in year 3 and year 4, especially year 4, I'll take you all by myself, literally entire sessions by myself, with only one input from Dr. Lee in time management. Then you will see me fully on that. And because I have a professional engineer, so I'm also doing ethics with you. So I think by the time I will see you again after this class, you will have grown up a lot more. I will have grown a lot older. You will have grown up a lot more, because that will be in 4 years' time. So yeah, that will be a lot. Actually 3 years' time, because you're going to do construction management with me. And construction management, again, my part isn't that much as well compared to Dr. Lee and Rohaida. So yeah, this is the interaction that we're going to have with each other for now, and then later on a lot more. You will see me a lot more in year 4, okay? For IDP, for project management, for ethics. So that 3 subjects is going to cover the full year. So you see my face full year, literally, okay? So don't miss me too much now, okay? We don't, you won't miss me anyway. So by the time you get to me, you won't like me very much already, I think. Okay. Anyway, any questions that you want to ask me? Yeah. Right. So at the moment, when you have Dr. Lee with you, I think you should really appreciate her. She's a nicer, more patient, kinder person compared to myself, you know. So yeah, I'm very impatient. So yeah, you do get that from me later on, you see. So I'll give you some preparation. So whether you like it or not, when you see me next in 2 or 3 years' time, you will just have to see me anyway. So no choice. You don't have a choice. I'm sorry. Okay. No questions from anybody regarding like you know, being an engineer, the course so far, how are you doing? You know, everything is good. Okay, never mind. You probably don't have much question. You're still so young, so not so problematic yet, huh? So I'll off my video so that the line will be smoother for everybody. Okay. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to see you all. Hopefully we'll be back in uni very, very soon. Even though this sort of method is actually not too bad, you know, you actually get to save your time and all that, you know, and you have more time at home to do assignments and all that. But you know, uni life is not about that. You know, it's also about being able to enjoy that few years of torture plus, you know, friendship and universities feeling, you know, independence without your parents on you, you know. Okay, let me see. I've got a chat here. Somebody asked something. Okay. All right. So somebody is asking me to talk a little bit about construction management, project management, which is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, actually. So, project actually in engineering management, you actually get a feel about how and you know how your work as an engineer would be like in the future, where you actually, you know, you'll be working with who, you know, like say the client, the contractors, or the engine as a consulting engineer or professional designers. So depending on, you know, which career you're embarking onto, you are all civil engineers at the end of the day. You will be called a civil engineers, and as you progress into your career, you will actually maybe go for your professional engineers examination and get a PE, and then after that you sit for another exam, tier 2 exam, and then you will get your right to sign on papers, you know, documents, and also drawings and technical specifications and all that. So that one we call it a professional engineers with practicing certificate. So not everybody wants to do that. I mean, but after graduating from universities, you are an engineer. Unless you do not want to practice as an engineer, you want to become like you know, a Cosware salesperson or Amware salesperson, or you want to go to banking, you know, it's possible. Why not? You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, maybe because you're here, your parents want you to be an engineer, you don't want to be, you see. So after you finish, you just buy and then, you know, and you move on with your life. So there will be some portion of you, like maybe a minor portion of you who don't want to be an engineer. So, but when you graduated from engineer, you will be called an engineer. There's no doubt about that. You know, you cannot not call yourself an engineer. This 4 years of engineering degree, and also the degree is being accredited by the Board of Engineers, which is a self-regulatory body in the industry. Technically, you are qualified to be called an engineer. It's just that you cannot certify drawings. You don't have that level of professionalism yet. And the other part of the career that you can move into will be construction management, project management, which is a specific area of its own as well, actually. It is you being an engineer who knows your part technically, but every engineering work that you embark onto is actually a one-off thing. You know, you don't repeat the work again and again. You don't repeat your work as in the same project again and again over 10, 20 years of your career. It is not engineering. It is not general management. Okay, general management is very procedurous. You manage, you plan for your work, you organize. Your office, your work, your job, day in, day out is about the same thing. It's very procedural. It's very very repetitive. So that's called general management. But what you can do is you've got to be working on a project by project basis. You see, and one project has a deadline. It will start at the beginning. It will have a date of starting, and then it will have a date of ending. It will involve different people. It will involve different land. It will involve different technicality. It will involve different areas of work. It will involve different scope of work. In fact, even if a drainage project, building a drainage project from point A to point B, you will never repeat that again. You see, then the next project comes, you will do demolition. In the same area, point A to point B, you will be doing demolition. You'll be doing upgrading. It's a different thing. You see. So when you have different things, this is the nature. This is part of the nature of a project. Okay, so I'm sure you have been explained all these things earlier on in the classes. So project is very special. You see, so it is something that you are going to be working on year by year as an engineer, month by month, year by year. Some project takes 2 years, some projects takes 18 months, some project takes 12 months, some project takes as short as 6 months, some project takes 3 months, some project goes for 5 years, you see. So, but you always start and you always end it. And when you end it, you finish that responsibility, you finish that task, then you move on to the next project. And you could also be handling several projects at the same time as well, being a very busy engineer. So as you move into your career, I would say as a fresh engineer, most of you will be dealing with technicality. You'll be dealing with, if you're working with designers, you'll be doing a lot of, beam design, column design, drainage design, always design, softwares, you'll be dealing with a lot of technical work. You see, producing calculation, producing drawings, checking drawings, submission, and all that. Then if you work for a contractor, you will also be overseeing a lot of the contracting work, the physical work on site that is being done. You also learn a lot of things. You also learn a lot of technical things. You really see a piling rig coming in, putting the piles onto the piling rig and start into piling, you see. You really start to see concreting. You really start to see bar bending. You really start to learn all the different procedures that goes into completing the work. It's a very interesting part of the project. As a designer, everything's on paper. As a contractors, engineers, as a builder, you actually see things being built in front of you. It's coming alive. The product is going to be forming right in front of you, you see, and you are playing a part in it. You are going to be seeing people moving into the houses that you build, people turning on water, people flushing the toilet, with the plumbing system, with the sewage systems that you have, and it is a very interesting job in a way. It is never boring because different projects will have different challenges, will have different constraints, will have different barriers. You'll be working with different people. Not all the time you'll be working with the same architect or the same M&E engineer, or you may not be working with the same contractor. You may not be working with the same designer. So you change your work. The nature of your work changes by project. So as a freshie, you probably do a lot of these technical things. You really need to learn technical things. I never tell students that you should be a project manager in your first job, even though it sounds good, but it is not good because you as an engineer learning from universities is only like maybe 20% of whatever. You learn, we give you whatever that is needed, you digest, and then you vomit out maybe 60% for the assignment, 70% for the assignments and the grades that you get, get a B or A-, that means you only absorb 70, 80%, some of you absorb even less, 60, 50%, So once you absorb, by the time you finish exam, you absorb 50%. By the time you finish universities, you're only left with that 50%. Not even that 50%. You probably only left with 20%, you see. So as a young engineer, the first 3-4 years of your work will be a lot of project. You'll be embarking onto project, you'll be learning from project, you'll be dealing with that particular project or few projects at the same time. And then you learn mostly technical things. You learn about 4 or 5 years, you will learn to be really good at designing, you'll be really good supervision, you'll be really good at QA, QC, you'll be really good at site work, These are okay. So where does project management comes in? But as you go along in a project needs to be managed. And normally, if it's a smaller project, in the technical part, we'll also be looking after the management of the project. See, you'll be looking at schedules, you'll be looking at costing, you'll be looking at QA/QC, you'll be looking at safety on site, you'll be looking at the methodology, you'll be looking at coordination work on site, who is coming first, who is coming next, and you will hold coordination meetings, you will learn to communicate with different parties, write letters, memo, and all these are part of management, okay? So, but without the basic level of technicality, like if you're not an engineer, you cannot manage an engineering project. I cannot call up an accountant or a CFO or a COO of a company and say that even they have years of management, or even a CEO of a company and say, come, you manage my project, you've got so much experience in management, but they do not have the technical part. They do not understand what is filing. They do not understand what is shear force diagram. You tell them shear force diagram, they go like, like the blackbird start to fly over your head and go, fwa, 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 You cannot come out and tell a lawyer or judge to say that, come and manage my project. They wouldn't know nuts between bending moment and shear force, They wouldn't know difference between deflection and bending. They all sound the same, They wouldn't know the difference between estimating and the budget. They wouldn't know the difference between costing and the budget, you see. So they wouldn't know CPM, they wouldn't know critical path method, they wouldn't know scheduling. This is your profession. This is why you're here for 4 years, like why do you think you're here for 4 years? We would like to get you out in 2 years, but unfortunately, all universities around the world, minimum is 4 years. You go to England, they do 3 years. You come back Malaysia, they don't recognize you. It has to be 4 years, and then they have to go and get a master's. Additional masters. It's also 4 years. It's just marketing gimmick, you see. So at the end of the day, every part of the world is minimum 4 years. It's just that architect has to do 5 years, doctors have to do 7 years. That's it. Full stop. Like no questions asked. This is a tradition. This is something that is necessary. There's no way we can give you all you need in 3 years. Impossible. In fact, if we can, we give you 5 years, even better. We should even give you 5 years to be a competent engineer. 4 years, that is set by the world standard. All engineers have to go through 4 years of engineering school in an accredited environment, in the degree that is accredited by the board of the engineers of that country, because board of engineers are self-regulatory. They are like law, they are the one that look after the law that is related to engineers. So you are going to be a professional person, It is okay to say that a profession is actually somebody who is in sales for 10 years, they are also professional. Okay, but our professional definition is different. Your professional and being a doctor, being an accountant, being a lawyer, being an engineer, our profession is accountable to the public. You are dealing with public's life and property. You're dealing with massive amount of resources in a country. If you're taking government job, you are actually dealing with taxpayer money. You have authority. You're going to have say over the money. You're going to be using it in an ethical manner. You've got to be doing good to the society and the public. That is the profession that we're talking about here, you see. So as an engineer, you will deal with technical things. You learn a lot of technical things. You learn a lot of like designs. You really see how to rectify things on site. You really see how the methods of work, excavation, how the bulldozer comes in, how the things are being raised out, how the trees are being picked off, you count tons, and all sorts of things, and then drainage where you get the pipeline where you get the water from, you calculate the reservoir size, then up to the point that your last person in the housing area will get water at a good pressure, and then you make sure that the place is not flooded because you count your on-site retention, you do your drainage size, whether it's going to be a box up culvert or whether it's going to be an open drain, and how fast it's going to flow, where it's going to compile the water, and then where it's going to go out next. You learn all these sort of things. You need to learn these sort of things. Otherwise, you cannot manage a project. We cannot manage a project without technical background, without that degree, without that training. Okay, so that is the formation. So project management is going to be built onto that foundation of technical. Built in those foundation of being a knowledgeable, being a technical know-how person. Okay, with a degree. Okay, you can work in the industry for 20 years as a site supervisor with all the technical things. You're as good as a design engineer. You can tell where the problems are, but you don't have a degree. You're not an engineer. That's the stop. Okay, and so every project that we are embarking on, so every work that you are embarking on, day in, day out, you're going to do project. So project also, the other half component is you need to manage, because there are other elements besides technical that you need to look after for the project to be successfully delivered at the end of the day to the end users, to the owner, to the paymasters of the project. So it is your responsibility, it's part of your responsibility to manage a project, and you apply management skills and techniques and tools and know-how into a project, and we call that project management. It's that you kawenkan project with management, you get project management. So project management is a very specific area that you will be embarking on for civil engineer. You will see, if you call up your mechanical classmates or your chemical classmates or EE classmates, you ask them, hey, you do project management or not? They will tell you, we do engineering management. Okay, so your job is different. We give you a specific project management class, a course. We give you engineering management and project management, you see. So it's going to be built up as you go along. And that is how special civil engineers are. So for mechanical engineers, for electrical engineers, because they are usually part and parcel of the project team, which is led by the civil engineer. If it's a structure project like building like I would say building, I shouldn't use the word structure. You building, because bridge is a structure also. Many things are structure also, but they are not building. So building projects are led by architects. Okay, but so architect will be doing mainly the project management by themselves, you see, so with your help as an engineer. But anything else besides building, you will be leading. So you are the lead consultant. So you'll be managing the project as a lead consultant, whether it's going to be a dam, airport, highway, drainage, water pipeline, water reticulation, raw water intake tank, many things, many areas, highway, roads, traffic, all these things are under civil engineer, and you'll be leading, you see. So all the other engineers are actually your sub-component, you see, they are your sub-people, So that is why you are more responsible. You are the responsible person, and you are being given the idea of project management. You're given the concept of project management. So your work, you are going to be leading civil engineering project, applying management skills into the project. And our industry is what we call a construction industry. So project life cycle, I think you all have been taught project life cycle. So delivery phase of the project is actually the entire thing. Engineers will have a role. Okay, you have the entire role of doing. You have all parts of all these things, and the most critical part is realizing the project, and this is about construction. Okay, So a lot of management work, like I would say 50% or more of the management work that you'll be doing will be in the construction part. But it does not mean that planning is not important. It does not mean that you're not playing a part in the development phase of the project, and there will be tools and techniques that needs to be used to manage development phase, conceptual phase as well. So just that the intensity of the activities is not as much as during the construction phase, you see. And even now, civil engineers are also involved in operation and maintenance phases as well. Again, not as critical, not as much as in the construction phase, you see. So from that planning to construction phase, we do deal a lot with project management, a lot more than other phases. But again, repeat, the other phases also need some of the tools and techniques. It's just that not as intense, you know, and the intensity will be a lot during the planning, meaning that, you know, before the project starts, you need to get things going, you know, and then followed by the actual starting of the project, which is in the construction or realization phase of the project. Okay, so these are something that is quite, we will also continue to go through it with you in year 4 later on. And this is just a sort of like a briefing introduction. So Malaysian construction industry, very important as a developing country. Okay, you will hear a lot of people being engaged. There are still a lot of demands for civil engineers. If you read the papers, I think they will still say that Malaysia is a lack of engineers, which is true. We still have many undeveloped areas in the rural region, in many parts of the country that needs to be graded. Actually, engineers, you are a nation builder. Okay, engineers is one of the oldest profession in this world. Okay, oldest profession in this world. And in the old days, very, very old days, when we deal with irrigation, you know, plantation, we have engineering. Okay. And in the old days, when you build old civilization, the houses that people stays in and all that, those are, with the day that you stop moving around like a nomad, basically, you already start to have engineers. Okay. And in the Greek mythology, you know, ugliest god of them all is an engineer. Okay. I don't know, I don't remember his name, but then he's married to the most beautiful god, which is Venus. So you can see that in the old days, in Chinese history, in Greek mythology, in the Egyptian, in the Mesopotamia, you know, time, in construction is already there. Engineers are already there, but at that time they maybe don't call an engineer line. You know, they may, you know, it's an all-rounded person that calls themselves maybe, you know, a mix, I don't know, architect mixed with contractor mixed with, you know, like that's why people say Leonardo da Vinci is like everything all in one. He's a genius because he's an engineer, he's an architect, he's everything together, you see. So we don't differentiate that much. Medicine is another old thing, you know. So medicine, law, and engineering is three oldest things, you know, three oldest thing in the world, you see. So we belong there. And in the old days, in the Chinese history, you see, from dynasty to dynasty, you actually get Ministry of Work. You know, they have different dynasties that actually have Minister of Works. And Minister of Work is one of, like, they built irrigation systems, they built palaces, they built forts, they built walls, you know, they built what else? The Great Wall. Basically, the Great Wall of China is being built by, you know, that kind of people, you see. So construction industry is a major force, you know, it's been there and it will not, you know, you don't have to worry, say that, oh man, this industry has been here for, you know, few thousand years, you know, would I be out of job when I graduate? You know, actually you will not, you see. There will always be more demand because project actually is very special. Once you build it, you use it over a period of time, then it needs to be refurbished. It will need to be it will need to be refurbished. It will need to be changing its purposes. Okay, so then, you know, like let's say I give you the example of Great Wall of China. In the old days, it's supposed to be fighting off the northern, you know, enemies. You see, so now with all the rockets and all the AI intelligence, you think that war is going to be fighting off any enemies, people can just like climb over it, in 3 minutes and get it over and done with, you see. So, and throw a few bombs and you'll be all gone, So there's no way that you can reuse it for defense now. So it's actually more tourism, more heritage and all that. So you see, there's going to be a lot of refurbishment project and a refurbishment, like making good of the war and, dealing with it, etc., etc. So, like making it for heritage purposes and all that. Okay. So it is wonderful. I mean, it is a very wonderful industry, actually. It's just that it is an industry that is, hot and dirty, and there's a lot of things that is going on that is not so great, like in a way, and that's why sometimes engineers are being looked at as a very tiring kind of work industry. So yeah, so construction industry is very important. It linkage to a lot of other parts of the economy, like manufacturing. It will be supplying a lot of things to us in construction, and then you'll be employing a lot of workforces. You'll be engaging a lot of professionals as well, like architects, QSs. They're all part of the construction industry as well. Okay, so it defines national prosperity. It defines GDP. It defines gross domestic. GDP is gross domestic product. It defines the wealth of a nation, actually. So in those days whereby people built pyramid, built Great Wall, you say it's not a symbol. It's a symbol of the power of the dynasty at that point in time. It's the power of the pharaoh at that time, you see. So it is also a symbolization of how great the country is. So we built the Twin Towers. It shows how great we are. I mean, I don't know, kind of, yeah. So, yeah. So it is a significant symbolism thing as well. And besides the fact that it actually creates a lot of businesses for the private sectors, it also creates a lot of businesses for the public sector. Public sector deals a lot with infrastructure projects, the people's money, people's lifestyles, road, sewage, drainage. All these things are water. They are all about people's life and livelihood and lifestyles. Okay, so these are the construction industry. I actually have a lot of questions in the chat box. Let me have a look at what is it. Okay, question 1. Are you a working person, Laura Shiking? Because you're asking questions that are very, 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 very technical, which is which is what we're going to be doing in year 4,
Yes, doctor.
So you are from the industry, is it?
Yes.
Are you still working at the moment?
Yes, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that we get part-time students in my class. So you're
No, it's not part-time. It's I got study leave.
Oh, so you are a technical person trying to become an engineer, right?
Yeah, I assistant engineer.
Diploma. Okay, so you're a mature student, I would say, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so yeah, mature students is good. Then you should befriend her because she's going to have a lot of sample projects that you're going to be used for doing assignments later. Yeah. So okay, let me just go through this very quickly with you because yeah, like I said, these are year 4 kind of thing. You're still going to be here for a few years. So for one off project example, okay, 25K awarded to a F-class contractor, they cannot complete the project within the contract period, and they got LAD. Okay. This is a very bad management system because you only have a 25K project and then you are actually delaying by $50 a day. I would say 25K project, how long is it going to be? 3 weeks? 3 months or what? What was the original length of the project?
Usually the contract period for 2 or 3 months like that.
2 or 3 months like that. So that means if I divide 250 by 50, you're talking about 500 over days. Am I right? 500 days. 25, 550, yeah, 500 days. So if your project is delayed by 500 days, I mean, this is not about paying for LAD anymore, you know. By the time the project is in delay and the LAD started already, it's about trying to get the project, the contractor to finish the project, finding out what is the problem, and maybe even terminating the contractor because they're not performing, you see. So if you're going to let the LAD amount actually going to exceed the contract amount, okay, that is a laughing stock. Okay, that is really, really, really something very shocking. And it's shocking that you allow that, because if you're over that, like I said, it's 5,000 500 days. 500 days, if you divide by 365 days, and this is not even working days, you're talking about this project is actually a 4 months or 3 months project. You're actually in delay for 5 years already. Yeah. 1.5 years. 1 to 1.5 years. Am I right to say that?
No. Actually, the project delay for 6 months like that, because there's no decision from the management, so that's why the project still delay and still don't have any decision.
You cannot allow that. Then that is the problem with the client already. It's not a problem with the contractor. You cannot touch. You cannot look. I mean, like, yes, in contract you cannot pay for the LID. I mean, you cannot pay them a single cent at all. Wait until the final decision is made, you see. But that is the incompetency of the client side. Why are you not making decisions? Why are you not settling this problem, you see? And this is the kind of problem that I can see after COVID. Many government agencies are not making decision with LAD, EOT, and all sorts of things that is related to project delay, because they don't dare to make it. There's no SOP to make it, and they just leave everything under the table, and they're not paying the contractor. And many contractors are being held up payment for like more than a year already, and a lot of them are actually going bankrupt because of this, you see. So this is not a healthy thing to do. Okay, again, it is not about whether you should pay, the contractor should pay all the LAD or not. In the normal circumstances, you shouldn't have let it happen to a situation like this, you see. This is my point here. In contract management, once the project are in the alert of delay already, the contractor should be applying for EOT. Okay? And then when the EOT is being applied already, whether it's being given or not, when the project deck is up, LAD will touch. LAD will jalang already, and that is normal. And the next payment that comes in to the contractor, you will have to deduct LAD. But this is such a small contract. If you don't manage the delay ASAP, then this is not right already, you see. So you're getting the contractor to wait for 6 months already to get a decision, and all their money are being pulled up by the client. Okay, legally, this is not right also. You should be paying them, you see. Or if you're not paying them, you should be giving decision on the EOT, unless they don't apply for EOT lah. And if you're not applying for EOT, how come the client side and how come the how come the owner side are not advising them to apply for EOT, you see? That is another one of my questions. So it's a very complicated thing. And I think if we have a situation like what you described here, it is a very, very poor management, very poor contract management on the side of the client in a way, yeah. Because I don't know what is the reason for delay. Okay, I would assume it's because of some of the current situation whereby they cannot get goods and materials. I have to assume it that way. But if it's contractors' own incompetency, like they're going bankrupt and all that, that is another story lah. So the scenario that you're describing here are not complete lah in that sense lah, huh? Okay. Chiking, do I answer your question?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, contractually, upon the date of the project completion that is stated in the contract, okay, the client has all the right to charge LAD. And the next payment that is after the date, that date, okay? So let's say if your date is 30th of November, and then the contractor submit a payment claim, okay, 5,000 or something like that, huh? After that, so you can certify that with the delay period. Let's say when you certify the claim, it's already 14 days delayed. So 14 days times by $50, that amount you can deduct first. Contractually, you can do that. You can deduct first from the contractor. And then only until you can do that all the way through until EOT is being given or decision is being made, okay, on whether you are going to give them that leeway or not, and how much already that is being charged or not. So there will be a final account closing. Okay, so that is contractually you can do that. But if we talk about project management, it's about getting the project to be finished, you see, and closing the project. So unfortunately, after 6 months, there is a delay and no decision that is being made. And then nothing is being put forward to close the project. It is a shame, okay? It is considered as you fell in the other part of managing this project. That is what I would say, yeah. Before the delay happened, before the completion date, when the delay do happen, EOT must come in already. And if there is no EOT coming in, you are assuming that the contractor will be taking the responsibilities to work faster and get it going faster and finish up the job faster. Okay. And then during that time, there's no advice at all to the contractor that says that, you are going to be late. Can you please write in? So, okay, you say that I don't want to give advice. It's not my pasar. Let them be penalized. You can do that. Legally, you can do that. Contractually, you can do that. But is it good for the project? Why do you want to behave like this? Is a teamwork. Project is a team management. Working between the owner, engineers, and the builder of the project to deliver the project. Why don't we just go for it in a very amicable, good environment? Advise the contractor, you have to apply for EOT, okay? Are you sure you don't want to apply? If you advise that they don't want to apply, it's their problem, you see? So then after that, when they apply, you have to assess the EOT. You have to tell them whether there's a date for you to assess. You cannot slightly sit there and not assess your EOT. It's ridiculous, you see? So who is the engineer? You're not doing your job, you see? So when they apply, you need to assess, are you going to give it or not? So when you give it, the the date of project completion will be extended. And then you push them to work harder. You encourage them, you push them, you give them letter, you give them warning, and push harder. Okay? And then all these people will all compile back for your own good. Then you have a case, you see. Now, there's no warning, there is no advice, there's no no communication at all, and then you're charging full LAD until the point that the whole contract is gone already, the whole contract value is gone already, then it is a very disastrous environment already. And if the contractor, if this big contractor, they will be suing you as well, they can go for a legal route as well. Why not? You see? So this 25 contractor F class, they probably don't have the ability to do that. So they will just sit there and go bankrupt lah. So what's the point? At the end of the day, the project is not delivered. You have a bankrupt contractor, and then you have tons of paperwork that is not being managed, you see? So this sort of situation should be properly, it shouldn't have come to that kind of extent. That is it shouldn't have come to this sort of situation. It's very sad to see that. If it comes to this situation and it's still not resolved yet, then I think the organization who is actually carrying out this project actually has a very big problem. We are not doing the job. Okay. All right, so that is my answer. And then what I know of that JKR 203A have to refer to BQ. and JKR203 refers BQ in drawing. Okay. This is what we call standard forms of contract. Standard form of contract, JKR203 is actually the peninsula form. It's actually for federal projects. So there is one that is with BQ and there's one that is with BQ and drawing. You have to see which form. I think there's JKR203A, there's JKR203N, there's JKR203P. There's a few versions of it, okay? And standard forms of contract are actually basically clauses that states the rights and responsibilities of the client and the contractor in the job. Is the relationship, is that formation of a legal relationship between the client and the contractor. And the difference between the version is basically you need to either if it's just BQ is what we call a remeasurement contract. If it's BQ and drawings, normally it will be used for a lump sum contract. That will be how it will be applied to different types of projects. Some projects you will go for remeasurement because you don't have the design, or the designs are not complete, or there's portion of designs that are not complete. So you may want to go for JKR203. I don't remember the actual form, the back numbers. I mean the back character. I mean there's A, there's N, there's P. I think there's a few version now. And this few version, it just basically says that if the pure BQ one is the one that everything will be referred to as to the BQ. So if let's say the one that is with BQ and drawings, then there will be the one that is more on. Usually we apply this to lump sum, whereby you have a BQ, you also have drawings available as well. Okay, there will be quantity available and drawings available. And BQ normally it will still be paid in the lump sum manner. Okay, whereas BQ only will usually be remeasurement, meaning that you will go down to the site, and when the job is finished, you need to remeasure everything and recalculate all the quantity before you fix on the final price of the contract. Okay. Yeah, so that would be the difference between the two. And there are many other forms available as well, such as Sarawak one, we've got a Sarawak contract form, JKR Sarawak contract form. We've got the PAM. PAM also there's BQ. There's one with BQ and without BQ. And there's IEM form, and I think there's a difference a bit there as well. And there's many other forms. These are just standard forms. Standard forms, these are not the final contract. These are just the general conditions of contract. So meaning that they stated out all the general things, general conditions of the contract, which is normally is a general responsibility and obligations and rights, okay, of the contracting party. And whether they are going to be referring to a pure BQ only or a BQ or drawings only really depends on the version that you choose for what purpose. Okay, and then when you refer to BQ only, that means likely is all the technical calculation details, everything is in the BQ. So the contractor needs to refer to the BQ before you do the quotation, before you do the tendering, and fill up the BQ and the quantity as well before you go for the tendering procedures. And then once you tender for the project, you use that contract form as the foundation of your agreement later on. And then you'll be referring to that BQ completely. And I think at this stage, many of the young people here who are not working, they don't even know what is BQ. So, I mean, I hope it is okay if I explain it that way to one person. So the rest of you are probably a bit lost, yeah. And BQ and drawings is the combination. There will be drawings that is supplied to the contractors, and there will be a list of bills of quantities. Bills of quantities are actually the description of the work involved in the project, and then you need to have the quantity, the work and the quantity, and then the contractor will fill up the rate, meaning that how much would they charge for doing for pouring 1 meter cube of concrete, for example. So they will go by the rate of $230 per meter cube, and then you times it with the quantity, and the quantity will have all add up together to be the final sum, and that final sum will be your contract sum. Okay, so BQ is a contract document together with drawings, bills of quantities is the is part of the contract documents. Specifications is also contract document, is part of the contract documents. Technical drawings, bills of quantity, specifications. These are all, I call it the picture of the project. You are actually describing the project in a pictorial format, in the writing format, in the quantity format. And BQ is different from schedule of rates. Schedule of rates is almost the same as BQ, but BQ has quantity. Schedule of rate have no quantity. Schedule of rate is just the description of the work and the rate, description of the work and the rate. So the contractor will propose the rate. So if you need to use that schedule, use that rate, then you will take up, okay, I want to do extra work, then I will take the rate there under that particular work, and then I will apply that rate. But BQ is it's a description of the quantity of the project. So if you don't have that description, usually means that the drawings are not fully complete, therefore you don't have it. You know, but if you have it, that is good. But if you have it, sometimes it's not accurate as well. So there is many I mean, this one has to be, you know, if I want to speak about this has to be a whole entire lecture kind of thing, you know. So yeah, so is it okay if I explain it like this to you, Ashiking? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay, Doctor.
Okay, huh? So I mean, you have to understand that there are people here who are just first year, you know, and they've never worked before and never gone for their LI. So if I go more and talk about to you only, then the rest of them will be all gone already. Okay. Yeah. So there is a difference between that two. I'll try to explain it again later on in the other parts of my lecture, huh? So yeah. This is construction industry, and we have a lot of projects that is ongoing. There is private project, there are turnkey projects, there are many different type of projects, okay, that is available. And you know, in the industry, we do residential, we do commercial, we do infrastructure. Infrastructure, like I say, you think of infrastructure as taxpayer money. Taxpayer money, things that you build for the people of Malaysia, or people of that nation. Road, airport, jetty, wharves, these are all infrastructure driven by government using taxpayer money to provide for facilities for the people of the nation to upgrade their lifestyles and to make life better in the country. Those are infrastructure projects. Dams, power plant, raw water intake tank. These are all infrastructure projects. Commercial projects are more like shopping malls, you know, recreation park, you know. These are all commercial projects. Shop houses are commercial projects, you know. Residentials are apartments, hostels, houses, 3-story houses, 2-story houses, terrace houses, semi-D houses. Those are all residential. Okay, so they are all different, and they will be all managed differently. They will all have different clients, and they are all going to be handled differently as well. Commercial project, it will be more, the authority that will be dealing with it more will be things like will be like maybe the councils of the area. Residential project mainly is councils and water board and DID. These people will be dealing with this sort of things more on the residential commercial. And then for the bigger infrastructure, it's going to be like what Ministry of Utilities, you know, to be looked after by JKR, to be looked after by DID, to be looked after by JBOP, you know. So these are different authority, government authority agency to look after infrastructure project, whereby residential and commercial are usually more on the councils level, you know, public councils level, you know, maintenance done by councils, by water board and all that. Okay. So these are what we are having in the industry, and there's more and more problems with lack of fundings. You know, if the if the economy is not good like now, you're going to have a lot of issues as well, like not enough of public funding. Public funding means that government don't have much money. So you get many other form of delivery like built on corporate transfers and all that. Okay. So now the industry are going for greater needs for quality. Definitely. There'll be a lot. As you graduate, people will be talking about quality management, QA, QC, QP, and there's a lot of project now also on upgrading, refurbishing, renewal, a lot of upgrading work. A lot of upgrading work, okay? And pipeline upgrading, drainage upgrading. So the industry now is not only constrained to building new things. We are talking about refurbishing, repairing, maintenance, a lot of this. And towards the end of the line kind of thing that is coming out as well. And demolition, recycling, restoration of all facilities. These are all engineering. So your career is not only going to be just building new things, you see, like constructing new things. There's going to be a lot of work that is dealing with refurbishing, upgrading, demolition, restoration, heritage, and many of these things, environment, what do you call the word again? Sustainability, yeah, environment and sustainability. So you need to work up into this sort of opportunities. It's such opportunities in the construction industry. So not everyone will be contractor, not everyone will be building designers, not everyone will be civil designers. So there's many other things that is ongoing, and some of you will be safety engineers, some of you will be QA, QC engineers. So there will be different areas of opportunities coming up as well. And especially now we're dealing, many countries, many society are dealing, as you mature, you also deal a lot with heritage, with recycling and with restoration. It's not about bulldozing off things, and then you're actually going to do strengthening to old buildings, and then changing old building identities to restaurant, to tourism spots, and many other things to keep the national identity. So these are some of the new development in the construction industry, which will be more and more coming up in future generations like yourself, you see. In my time, I deal a lot with infrastructure projects. And in the older time, in my my grandfather's time, this is about nation building. There's many infrastructure projects. And in my time, there was starting to be infrastructure plus a lot of upgrading kind of project already, meaning that the pipeline was built like 30 years, 40 years back, and now the cities has already been congested. More people, you need to rebuild the pipeline, refurbish, re-upgrade. So I do a lot of upgrading work when I was a young engineer, okay? So yeah, that was the kind of work. Now I see a lot of this refurbishing work coming up as well, changing old buildings into something new, and a lot of other infrastructure work that is dealing with rural as well coming up as well. So these are all the part and parcel of the construction industry. So every project, okay, so for the person who asked me just now, can you talk about more on the construction management? Basically, you are managing construction project, okay? And every work that you embark onto is a project. And every project in a civilized society is a contract, okay? I don't know if there is anyone in this part of the world, or maybe in, I don't know, even in Laos or Cambodia or some no man's land. I don't know if there's anybody who doesn't do a contract anymore. Okay, so if you embark onto any project, 25K even, okay, and not to mention that project engineering, civil engineering projects are like, you're talking about multi-million-dollar, when you just something, you're hearing word like 5 million, 4 million, that is like so small, kind of thing. And then you've got like project that's 30 million, 50 million, 100 million, we hear Cambodia is, I don't know how many, it's billions, I would say, not even billions, okay? So you see, different with that amount of project, you think that anyone is going to do a job with you and say that, hello, brother, come and do a job for me. I have a project, it's going to be like 10 million. And then, yeah, you just bring in your material, bring in your things and start working, and I'll pay you at the end of the day. Will you work? Come on, I think even a Form 5 graduate wouldn't do that, So I think you all will be smart enough not to say that, not to say that, okay, I will work for you. You will need to embark onto a proper procedures of procurement that is going to be followed up with the awardance of the contract, and then signing of a proper contract that lists down all the rights and obligations of the different party in the contract before you actually start work, correct or not? So that tells you that in a civilized society where there is law, there will be contract. Every transaction between the citizens of Malaysia with one another should be in a contractual format. Okay, even if it's just buying and selling, I go and buy a packet of Follow Me, that is actually, there's a sales contract there. It's not, you don't have to sign a contract, but that sort of amount, it is a contract. If something goes wrong, there is dispute. We can go to court, you see. You are protected. That is where law creates order. Order in the society whereby citizens of Malaysia cannot cheat one another. They cannot tipple. They cannot take other people's property. They cannot use other people's service and not pay, you see. So these are transactions between the citizens to citizens of Malaysia. We normally do it in a contractual format. Contract format in an agreement. Agreement is smaller, contract is bigger, like dealing with a lot more elements in a contract, whereby agreement is just maybe a simple write-up between the two parties of what is there to be transacted. So you get a bill, a sales bill, that is a contract, you pay for that, that's why you have the receipt, in your hand. That means that I buy from this guy, you see, if something wrong, I go back to him. Okay? Here again, with projects that you're talking about transaction that is millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you tell me no contract, cannot be. Okay, so a project is a contract. So that is what normal people in the civilized world will do. And in fact, it's very funny. 20 years plus when I came back as an engineer, there is really, really some people who work with no contract. It is really funny, But then I was a bit shocked. Then this environment, like there will be some contractors. I have so many paperwork, so many things to read. I don't want to read, kind of thing. And then they will just go and do the job. And then there is so much of trust and so much of if you work for JKR, you go back and ask those people who has retired many, many years ago. They will tell you that sometimes they just call some of the people to do the work, and they will just do it for them, and then they will issue payment later on without any contract on. So in the old days, come on, and there's just so much trust going on. But nowadays, we don't trust people like that. Please, it's very scary. You need to have a contract, okay? You need to have proof. Everything needs to have proof. You need to bring up your case, you see. Otherwise, you may be sued. So as an engineer, contract management is such a big part of your work as your life as an engineer, honestly speaking. So why do you need to have a contract? Because it defines the work, it defines the scope of work, it defines how much the owner will pay you as an engineer to provide your service, your design service, or as a contractor, you provide the resources to carry out, to build the facilities. You bring in your workmen, you bring in your material, you bring in your manpower. You bring in so many commitments to the project. You need to know that it's all written down. Well, how much are you going to be paid, you see? And then what is your responsibility? I must deliver over what period of time? This is the amount of money that I'll be paid. This is my budget, and then if there is delay, what should I do? I should apply for extension of time, what we call EOT. If I don't apply for EOT, I will get LAD, liquidated certain damage. Okay, this is to describe whatever Ashikin was asking just now, you see. So it's all stated in the contract. All the procedures are there in what we call, normally the general procedures are all stated in what we call a standard form of contract. which is something like JKR 203, JKR Sarawak form of contract, PAM form, are like a one-size-fits-all t-shirt. This is like a, like overseas, if you want to buy a house, you can actually download an agreement from internet. They have this service. The government has this service. They actually can download it. So same here. In construction, we also have this free size t-shirt, and this free size t-shirt is like you can use it for free one. So they are written by different authority, like authoritative body, like PAM, Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, IEM, Institute of Engineers Malaysia, JKR, CIDB, and JKR Peninsula has JKR, and then international form, we have FIDIC, we've got NEC, we've got FIDIC, we've got all these international forms that is used between country to country when they're transacting in the construction area in certain countries, you see. So you've got Sarawak also have their own Sarawak standard form of contract. So this one will list out all the general, what we call the general obligation, rights and obligations of the contracting parties. So this is the only document. Standard form is one document. Then you're going to have, maybe if you need to add in some special condition, special things that you want the contractor to do and take responsibility, then you have to write it in the special condition section. Okay? And then you also have other documents like the drawings, the BQ, the bills of quantities, and also the specifications, and any tendering documents, summary of tender. All these are part and parcel of the contract document, and they will refer to one another. Okay? To describe the project, to describe what the contracting parties are getting themselves into. Okay? So you need to, they will be describing one another. So these are all contract documents. Okay, so BQs is one contract document. Bills of quantity is one contract document. It's part of a contract document. Drawings is definitely part of the documents. And then maybe even feasibility studies, okay, and schedule of rates, and many things that are, to compile that documents is not easy. Okay, it is not something that is what we call that you can do it like that. I mean, it's not something that you can print out the files here, print out the files there, and combine them together, because every project is special. So if every project is special, if we decided to use standard form, means that the general condition is going to be very, very standard based on that particular agency's JKR form, you see. But drawings will be special, different, and they will refer to one another. And if you have a dispute later on, all these documents will come into the picture. You cannot just refer to the contract clauses and not refer to the BQ or not refer to the drawings, you see. They are interrelated. So when you are in a dispute with one another, besides looking at the clauses that is available, the other evidences will come in the drawings. If your drawings don't have it and your BQ don't have it, then something is wrong. That means even if you have it in the contract clauses, this thing doesn't link. There is a loophole in the contract. And then you need to know which one will govern. So if it's technical, normally BQs, drawings, and also specification will govern. If it's a very legal issue, then we will refer back to the form or the special conditions or the contract, the agreement itself, you see. So depending on what we're dealing with, then we will, this whole set of documents will come together. It will describe the project. It's just like, I will try to give you an example. You want to cook a dish. The dish is, you can learn to cook a dish by reading the recipes, correct or not? So you have one document that is the recipes. And then you have another document that is, you may have another document that are drawings. So you may have people drawing picture of how you draw, of how you cook that dish. And then you will describe it maybe via a YouTube video. So you will learn through YouTube. Okay. So when you put all these things together, they are referring to one another. The recipe doesn't say I need to bake for how long, at the cartoon picture, is it say they or is not they also? What about if I look at YouTube, what other people do? Oh, so you say, oh, I need to pay this for 30 minutes. I need to turn it for 20 minutes. Also, you actually fill out that description of that these two different kind of documents. The same goes, this is a big project. You're dealing with millions of dollars with so many resources, people, few hundred people's working for it, and then you've got design professional coming in, you've got resources like machineries, you've got bulldozer cranes, and then you've got material and tons of steels, 100,000, few tens of thousands meter cube of concrete. There's so many things that you're dealing with, So if your documentation, the contract documentation between one another, there will be more than one thing to describe all these things, you see. So these are all part and parcel of the contract document, okay? And so this contracting will actually define, for me, contracting as a researcher in this area, contract should define rights, the obligation of the contracting party. They should define procedures to problems. If there's something occurring, there should be a way to resolve it that all the parties should follow. That the SOP, that would be the best, okay? Especially for standard form like what we are describing here, JKR 203, or standard form of contract. These are the standard form. One size, free size t-shirt, okay? One size, free all t-shirt. And then you should also define the risk. When the contractor actually read it, they should know that this is a risky, I have risk here. And with that risk, I will charge what? By understanding risk, it will be reflected in the final pricing and scheduling of the product of construction. Okay, and then you will also look into incorporating other things like schedules, estimation, and this will be a good contract if you have all these elements together, and also very importantly referring to any external element like authorities, because not only you are in the project itself, you are also referring to the authorities who's going to come and check and give permission and give approval and do maintenance later. So they also have a say. So your project should, in that contract document, it should also list down all these sort of items, basically, okay? So it is about how much are you going to do and how much you're going to be paid. Who's going to be paying? Who's going to be working? So these are what is in a contract, okay? The price, time, workmanship, the level of workmanship, etc., etc. So these are, we will describe this a lot more in year 4. Don't worry. I cannot talk to you this, you're going to have a legal class, you're going to have a contract administration class, you're going to have what is a contract, you're going to describe procurement, contracting, tendering. All these are part and parcel of project contracting. So, there's no way we can finish talking about this in 2 hours. Okay, so this is going to be an overview about a feel about, when you embark onto a project, you are embarking onto an engineering contract, and which will tell you that, you are working in a safe, legal environment whereby all the responsibilities of the contracting parties are being put on the table, okay, and then the rights of all the contracting parties are being put on the table, the pricing, the procedures of handling the different issues in the project are being put forward. It's just like you want to going, okay? Besides in drama, you get this romantic going, but normally you going, you tell your other partner, when we going, next time, you must wash the dishes, you must throw the gong sang and I will beranak, then you will list down all the terms and conditions, correct enough, before you going. Going is also a contract, kan? You sign that piece of paper, you think it's not a contract, you think it's love, It is love plus contract, it's duties and responsibilities. So then it will define how other people are going to behave, the two parties going to behave in that particular contract. Okay? So you cannot going another person after you then after you going, you don't beranak, then how? So then, there is a lot of issues within that particular project that you're embarking on to. So this one, is that legal way of putting everything on the table. You understand me, I understand you, you know what you're getting yourself into. You better understand, you know all the clauses already. Yes, then we sign. So then we have the intention to create a legal relation, and then that intention will be registered in the legal system of Malaysia. You go for stamping, it's already been listed in the legal system, meaning that if there's any problem later, if anybody default, you can take out the contract and penalize that person or penalize the other party based on the contract that you have already signed. So it's a contract, that's an agreement, it's a meeting of minds. You and I meet our minds together. You understand what you're getting into. I understand what I'm getting into. I understand if I don't do my work, I will be penalized in what way, and I accept that. You see? So if I can't accept that, I better price my contract differently. I'll price it more expensive. If I know that there's going to be conflict, I won't be charging 25K. I'll be charging 50K. I'll be charging 100K for all the delay to happen, for you all to cut my pay. You see, so risk is translated into financial commitments later on, normally, okay? And there's many types of contracting method. This is going to be part of procurement later. This is only one portion of procurement. You've got fixed price contract, you've got cost reimbursement contract, you've also got incentive contract. Okay, these are the three contracts that are very, very common in normal construction project delivery, even the delivery in other type of contract. These are usually for suppliers and also for service kind of contract, which like maybe some repair kind of contract, then you have this sort of smaller contract. And normally we will use fixed price. Fixed price means that it's going to be a lump sum. There's going to be lump sum, meaning that the contractor will do a job for you for this amount of money and full stop. No more increase, no more decrease, unless there are other issues that comes in, okay? And there will be lump sum fixed price plus provisional, meaning that there will be some part of the contract that is not clear, meaning that some quantities are not clear, okay? Fixed price, you can base it on drawings and BQ and specification. Fixed price, you can also base it on provisional, meaning that one part of the contract is fixed, the other part of the contract is provisional, which means you're going to have either schedule of rates for it or BQ for it, meaning the BQ will be just an estimation, okay? I normally would like to put a pure BQ contract under cost reimbursement, meaning that you have a contract that is purely based on BQ. There's no drawings, maybe some schematic drawings, but no full drawings. You just base it on that description of the work plus the estimated quantity, and the contractor will put in the rate. And then after the project started to be constructed, you will change the quantity. How much work is done? Then you will key in the actual work times by the rate that you propose. Then you get a new price. That is what we call, then you reimburse the contractor based on the final quantity that was carried out. And cost reimbursed, the most famous one is cost plus, okay? Cost plus means that the contractor will only charge the cost. They will give the invoice, they will give the cost of the project plus a fixed fee. So as an incentive, the client will pay a contractor a fixed fees management, percentage of contract also can, percentage of the cost also can, fixed percentage plus fixed fees also can, or fixed percentage plus incentive, meaning that if you come below certain price, I will give you some other incentive. So there's some combination between cost plus and incentive based contract as well. So you can have a cost plus plus incentive, cost plus plus target price. And these are the part that incentive means that you will get like guarantee maximum price. We will describe this in a lot more specific, very detailed in year 4, honestly. Here, the appreciation that I need you to get is basically that contracting method will usually tell you how the client will be paying for their end product? Is it via a fixed price method, or is it via a cost reimbursing method, or whether it is incentive method? Okay. So once you set that, okay, once you choose that, this will be forming with the rest of the documents like standard form, because you see, procurement strategy, contracting type, and tendering model, and the documents, they are all sort of like a mix and match. You see, when you can mix fixed price contract. You can mix fixed price contract with JKR 203 drawings. You can do a fixed price provisional with a JKR 203 BQ drawings contract with open tender. You can do design and build, okay, with a cost reimbursed method, and combine that with selective tendering, and combine that with JKR 203. There's one that is on design and build, DNB, I think. Yeah. So you can use that as a document. So again, it's like a mix and match. Okay. So you've got to appreciate that in order to have a contract, these whole procedures that you need to go through to select the different methods, select the different route, it will determine the delivery, the outcome, and how successful the outcome will be, the product, which is the delivery of the project, the construction of the project, and which is actually going to be built by contractors, service providers, suppliers, goods and service provider, who will come together in a contract manner in order to deliver the project. So this is what we call procurement. So many of you will wonder, what is the word procurement all about? Okay, so contracting is actually procurement. Okay, so I'll keep it in the chat box here. Procurement. So in project management, one of our most important conditions, and one of our most important topic is procurement management. And at the moment, with my year four, I've just finished my procurement classes last week, and I'm moving into construction management of site this tomorrow. So these are all part and parcel of what you're going to see later on. Okay, and now I just need you to gain the appreciation that project is a contract, and in order to form a contract, there is a whole lot of things you need to do, such as determining getting ready all the project characteristic design and everything, and then going through and selecting your procurement strategy. Can be things like design and build, turnkey, concessional method. So don't be too worried if you don't understand what I'm trying to talk about here, because every one of these things will be explained to you in a clearer manner, but you can actually search your reading as well on what is procurement strategy. And then from the procurement strategy, you need to match it. You need to do a matching with the contract type. Okay, because different characteristics of the project may suit different project procurement strategy, and different procurement strategy may suit different contracting method, and different contracting method may suit different tendering method. Tendering method, we've got open tender, selective tendering, negotiated tendering, serial tendering. So there's many models that you can use, you see. Then after that, once you go through all this process, tendering is about getting the right people to come and quote and bid for the job. Okay, so it's coming here to do that. I mean, you're going to get, you're going to call people, say, hey, I've got a project. Who wants to come and quote me? Who wants to come and propose your price? So then you select the right person to do it, and then you form a contract. So you sit down, you award the contract to the right contractor, to the right service provider, and then you sit down and you sign an agreement. Okay, and that agreement is your contract. It will be comprising of the entire set of documents, which comprise of drawings, BQs, schedule of rates, standard form of contract, which is the general conditions of contract, and special conditions of contract, and then anything that you use for tendering will also be part and parcel of because tendering is an offer by the contractor. So part of the offer will be part of the document that you need to put in to make it legal. A contract is built based on offer and acceptance, a full offer and a full acceptance. So these are part of the contract documents. So once you got it, you sign on it, you award the job to you award the project to a builder, a service provider to do the job and deliver the project to the client. Okay, so as engineer, we can be in the client part, we can be on the contractor part, we can be in the design part, we can be anywhere. We are not limited to anybody. Okay, it's depending on who's your boss, who are you working with at that point in time. Okay. Then once we've got that done, side, then the project is ongoing. You start to build, you need to bring in the machineries and look after your schedule. You need to look after your budget costs. You need to do quality checklist, and do PQP, project quality plan, do risk management. All these things are ongoing. While this is ongoing, the same thing here that is ongoing, you need to look after the contract. That was what I was trying to tell Ashikin. Who is looking after the contract? How can you let the contractor go into such delay? So contract administration is part of an engineer's job. You need to understand the contract. You need to advise the contractor. You need to advise the client. You need to work together as a team to actually administer the contract. This is contract management, you see. So contract management, you need to know what is in the contract, what is the rights and what is the obligation, and then what are the procedures to deal with certain issues. It is all in the contract. So as engineers, our job is to administer that contract. You don't sign a contract and put it at the bottom of your desk for the next 10 years, okay, and never look at it, or use it as a table stabilizer, okay, or put it on the shelf to make it look good. You don't do that. You need to understand, if delay happens, what do you do? If payment comes in, what do you do? If the contractor submit payment, what do you as an engineer do? What you as a client do? If the contractor, you need to submit payment, what interim payment? If there is, you bring in material, what are you going to do? You have to bring in certificate, test report, and all that. It's all in the contract document. You need to follow through. You need to advise. You need to use the contract document to get the project going. You need to administer. Okay, so in the contract document, you've got things like the employer, who is the employer, who is the engineer, who is the contractor, the builder. You've got what are the documents, what you need to buy insurance, what are the legislative issues, patterns, working program, quality, workmanship, testings, bills of quantity, which is part of the documents, instructions by engineers, changes, which is what we call variation, time issues like delays, extension of time, which is what sometimes we call EOT, liquidated a certain damage, LID, okay. Discharge of contract, which include termination, okay. You also talk about site possession. Not possessed by hantu, this one, this is really site possession. The ownership of the site will go to the builder, they will own the site, they will take responsibilities. And then you have any of the safety elements inside there. Management procedures. Okay, so these are all in any of the contract documents. You will have these sort of things. Remedies besides termination and discharge of contract. Discharge of contract can be very peaceful. You finish the job, I discharge you. There will be termination, which is very, very serious, like that. Like you just cut off the contract. Remedies can be things like, repair, defects, liability, rework, Okay, supplementing documents, etc. Okay, so and then communication is very important. I forgot to put that down. Communication meaning that between the three parties, how are you going to communicate? How are you going to keep records? Which is meaning things like letters, memos, meetings. Emails even, yeah, and site daily records. Okay. So these things are all more or less, it's being written down in what we call the clauses last or the general condition of the contract, which we mentioned there are many types of standard forms available. Is because standard instead of every project, you go to a lawyer and get them to write everything from zero, you actually have a standard form, and the standard form is like they will cover most of these issues, and most of these issues are already in there, and you just have to refer it to them. But not all of these are actually suitable for your project, so you still have to check it out and go through it carefully before you decide on which standard form to use, and maybe any other special conditions that you want to input in as well. So we cannot purely just have one full one. Just use it like butak, like that. It cannot be selling butak. It has to be checked through by the engineers, and then because you'll be administering it later on. Okay. So yeah, I mean that is what we are covering in project contracting. So contract, procurement, contracting, project, these are all related to one another. Okay. Any other questions you want me to cover? We still got 20 minutes here. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Mainly, I just need you to gain the appreciation of what we call contract and project, and how they're related to one another, and what are you going to be managing in terms of a contract. Because as engineers, our mind are very much stuck to technical. We are very concentrating on technicality, the drawings and all that, and right, getting the calculation right and all that. But the big part of management that we are looking at is not only the schedule or the budget or the QC/QA quality management aspects or safety risk aspects. We are actually looking also into the contract aspect, and it's a job of the engineer to administer the contract. You don't get anyone else administering contract. For a very, very big project, you do have QS to help you with contract administration. But at the end of the day, a lot of things have to be signed by the engineers, approved by the engineers before you can release it to the right people, the contractor or the client and all that, you see. So this job is your job. That's why we need you to appreciate that this is your job, you see. So looking after the contract is your job. There's no way out of it, unfortunately, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. She said, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a trained lawyer. The thing is, you can administer a contract as an engineer. A lawyer cannot administer an engineering contract. That is the difference, because they have no idea on the technical part. A CFO or accountant cannot administer a contract, an engineering contract. Only an engineer themselves can administer an engineering contract. Administer means that you can follow through, follow the procedures within the stated agreement and behave, get everybody to behave accordingly to the contract documents. Because a lot of this behavior and rights and obligations are dealing with the technical or the engineering bits of the project. See? Okay. Any questions so far? I'm very open to any questions. You can ask me anything, honestly. Anything you want me to cover? I mean, like, do you still want to be an engineer after this?
Of course, yes.
Some of you are saying, oh, I don't want to be an engineer, it's so complicated. That's why you come to universities, okay? Good. So, Philip, do you know what you as an engineer going to do in the future? You know, this is going to be a picture of what you're going to have, what you're going to do in the future, okay? Right, you come to be an engineer. You don't say we. Oh, I think I will tell you when I go to my ethics class next in year 4, there will be people like 20% of you will be putting up your hands and say that I actually don't want to be an engineer. You're here because your parents force you, your grandparents force you, because it's a tradition of the family, that kind of thing, you know. So there are people who are like that, you know. I'm not surprised. Some of it because you don't know what you want to do at all, so then you just put everything, you know, put all the list of selection in your thing, and then you get into uni mas. Okay lah, get in lah. Ayah, datang saja lah, habis 4 years dollar lah. You know, there are people who are like that. But yeah, honestly, it is a very interesting profession. I mean, I enjoy myself as an engineer. I mean, I like to see things being built. You know, I like to mediate between different people. I like to solve problems. You know, it is a very stressful job. You know, I was in the industry for, you know, I mean, I was in the industry for about 7 years. Okay. Then I came to academics, but in academics, I'm still practicing at the moment because I have an IR, so I'm practicing. I do have a small team of engineers who are actually helping me with some design works and all that, because I feel like it's important to be updated all the time with the industry, with what is happening and all that, and giving you very real life project that has been ongoing as part of my life as well, you know, and sharing the experience as an engineer. And also contractors do look for me sometimes to um study some of the issues, you know, and some of the contractual issues and all that. So I mean, it is always good to be in the industry, you know, even if I'm in the academician. So I never stop my industry practice, even though my industry practice is not as much anymore, but it is still ongoing. So it is helpful. I mean, like, I can give you a lot of examples. I can give you a lot of what we went through, you know, and to share with you my experience and all that in certain projects, you know. So yeah, I mean, that is, I think, very helpful to young engineers like, you know, who not young engineers, young to be engineers, okay, and to give you a real feel about what the industry is all about. So Ashikin, I appreciate that we have a mature students here, and I do hope that you will enjoy the classes with us. And I apologize, I cannot go into so much details with your questions, because first, the question is very short as well. We need to know the whole scenario for me to give real comments, real helpful comments. And also, like I said, many of the people here are not engineers yet. You know, they have never come across a lot of the terms. So if I want to explain in detail, it will be very, very difficult to a lot of the other, you know, 90 or, you know, even 100 people here. You know, I mean, today only 60, but later on listening to the recording, there'll be other people as well. Yeah. So slowly, you know, you can write to me by email. Okay. If I can help, I will try to help. If let's say, if not, then year 4 we will be covering a lot of these things. So keep the questions. For year 4, you know, we can do a lot more discussion in year 4, because in year 4, in project management, even in construction technology later in year 3, we can do a lot of this discussion, because by then your terms, you know, the things that you learn is a lot more already. Like when I say certain things, you can, you know, it clicks with you. Now it doesn't click because it's still very early. It's only semester 1, you know. So you probably don't know what is construction, you probably don't know what is engineering or civil engineering. You know, you're just barely getting the idea of what is it like to be a civil engineer. Some terms are actually very, very technical as well, very, very technical, and some terms are very technical to management as well. So yeah, it takes time, yeah, to learn together in that sense. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, I will go to do QR. Okay. I'll share my screen again and do QR. Yeah, I'll use another thing here. Okay. QR. Where's my phone? I need to get my phone because I need to clean the Google Chrome. This is civil 1472, huh? Okay. Today is Monday. Vietnam. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay, now I share my screen again. Okay. Hey, how come nobody is doing the QR? Cannot, cannot scan ka? Alright. How ah? Mm, well, if I want to go through them, never mind, never mind. There's only 60 of you, so wait ah. Uh, let me off this first. . 。  . 。 。 . Yeah. Yeah. There's only 60 overall views, so can we just have you? I mean, it's a bit tedious. 60 of you want to set attendance also quite hard, no? Okay, never mind. I think what I will do is later on after I post my recording onto onto the eLib and my notes onto eLib, I will ask you a very simple question on eLib. Okay. The question will be just needing like one of one sentence or something like that. Okay. And you just answer and that shows your attendance. Can we do that? Okay, so you watch out. I will give you a few days to do that. I will give you until the end of the week. Okay, so once I post the notes, you will see there's an attendance record there. So it's going to be a very simple question. I was just going to ask you like maybe things like what is a project? What is the relationship between a project and a contract? And something like that. That is very, very simple. That only need one sentence to answer one. And then you will find it in the notes, okay? You just type in the answer with your student number, okay? And I will take that as the attendance. So you also let your other friends know once they finish listening to this recording, they can also go and do that as well. I will put it up as a. I mean, I suppose they're so scared that we give lecture to you all, and then make other people disadvantaged or something like that. So they just close the whole entire QR. I don't know, what's going on with the server. Okay, it's okay. If not, then that's it for today. Any questions, any issues that you want me to cover? Do you understand my classes? Do you understand the way I talk?
Doctor,
Yeah,
for me, you talk too fast.
I talk too fast. Okay, all right, I'll take note of that. Yeah, because we're covering a lot of things in one lecture. That's why I have to speak boodles a little bit. Okay, so some of you maybe it's clear, some of you it's not clear. But my language you can understand the way I speak, you're okay, huh? I mean just that fast, maybe you miss out on some things, huh? Because there are some people there, some lecturers then when they talk, people can't really listen, like they can't really hear, the exact word that they're saying. So I hope I don't have that issue with you all. So far I never get a complaint like that lah. Talk fast. Okay, Ken, I will take note of that. I will try to slow down in the future. Anything else? If not, then bye-bye. I will see you again in 3 years' time.
Thank you,
Hello,
Doctor.
Doctor.
All the best.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Have a nice day.
Nice day.